Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'd like to do is show you how to graph this system of inequalities to determine our feasible region. So to do that, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph an x and a y-axis here. And I am going to graph my inequalities, y is greater than 0 and y is less than or equal to x. But to graph them, it might be easier to represent y is equal to 0 and y is equal to x to help us graph them, and then go back using the inequalities to determine where the shading is at. Now remember, here's our y-axis and here's our x-axis. So to graph the line y is greater than 0, I'm actually probably going to need to use a different marker here. To graph y is equal to 0, understand that on the x-axis, that has x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals 3, x equals negative 1, x equals negative 2, x equals negative 3. So when x equals 0 is right here. Now on the y-axis, y equals 1 here, 2, y equals 3, y equals negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Right? So when y equals 0 is going to be all the way along this y-axis. So graphing the line y equals 0 is going to be along, the x-axis. Now notice, going back to my inequality, this is greater than, so not greater than equal to, so that's going to be a dashed line. Okay? Now, the next thing is we need to determine shading. And usually we always choose shading by using the point 0, 0. But again, we can always just pick a point. We can pick any point as long as it is not on the line. So rather than picking 0, 0, let's just pick the point 0, 1. Now notice the y coordinate here is 1. So I'm going to plug in 1 in for y, and I see that that is true. So therefore, my shading is going to go above my line, because since my test point was true and my test point is above the line, that means all of my points above the line are going to be true. So I'm going to leave the arrows there until I actually get my feasible region, then I'll shade it in. The next one is the line y equals x. That means whatever y equals, x equals. Whatever x equals, y equals. So if x equals 0, y equals 0. If x equals 1, y equals 1. If x equals 2, y equals 2. If x equals negative 1, y equals negative 1. Okay? It's called the identity function. But for this one, it's less than or equal to, not less than. So that's going to be a solid line. Okay? And again, we need to choose a test point. And again, I will choose the test point 0, 1 because I already used it for the other one. It doesn't really matter, though. You can use any point you want to. Just notice that the x is 0 and the y is x is 0 and the y is 1. So when I plug them in, 1 is less than or equal to 0, which is false. So since the test point was true for this equation, I graphed above. But now it's false for my other one, so I'm going to shade below. Now you can see that my feasible region here meets in this part. And that is going to be our feasible region where both of our inequalities are going to, or it's going to be true for both of our inequalities. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you graph a system of inequalities. Thanks.